Hello everybody, welcome to this week's edition of This Ain't Fake Brother. It is the 13th of November 2014 and myself and Ken are gearing up for Survivor Series, and we're going to have some reviews of Survivor Series lead-in shows, but not the ones that you'll be watching. We're going to be watching Survivor Series from what year, Ken?
1994.
Yeah, we're going to be watching Raws and Survivor Series from 1994, so that's going to be your classic review next week. For this week, we've got all the news. We've got a podcast roundup as usual, a live report from the Dublin house show that took place last Thursday that I attended, and also an interview from somebody who worked crew at it. So that's going to be very interesting. Our first actual scoops, Ken, on the show.
There's been several scoops in this studio, Neill.
Mostly myself.
Purely yourself.
And we're also going to be going over Monday Night Raw. So how are things, Ken? Anyway, to start off, how are you?
Splendid, yeah. Just about made it through that horrible wet and rain out there.
Yeah, is it still nasty
wet
outside?
And rain.
Yeah.
What a radio show host here.
Aren't you the best?
Yes, it was quite torturous, I have to say. I don't like to leave my house, so making it all the way here in that weather was quite the torture for me.
Yeah, I've been out a bit today. It's not very nice, but anyway, let's get down to some news. First off, we've SmackDown officially going to Thursday nights in the States and Wednesday nights in Canada. This is a welcome move. They've got more competition, but it should produce better ratings overall.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And in terms of Sky, are they still going to be airing it on Friday?
That hasn't been announced yet. I imagine it may end up being a situation where they still do the 10 o'clock Friday airing, but maybe do a quote-unquote live airing at like 2 o'clock in the morning on Thursday night.
Really?
I could see them doing that. They've done that before with taped shows. You know what I mean? Like for example, when Raw's in Liverpool, why don't they air it live? You know what I mean? It's aired taped at 2 o'clock in the morning over here.
Well, I don't think they edit it live because they want the main Raw that they distribute to be the one that airs in America. They want to have it edited first for America. We'll talk about Raw. They did a lot of tinkering with it in a few hours.
Did they? Yeah.
With the crowd noise anyway.
Shame they couldn't tinker a little more.
You could see CM Punk chants during that AJ match, but you couldn't hear him.
That's a good thing.
We'll get to him in a moment. But we'll just stick with the SmackDown news first. SmackDown was in Liverpool this week. The SmackDown that will be airing on Friday. And it's a couple of things of note. The first being Vince McMahon coming out and berating the crowd, telling them that they were awful compared to other UK cities. And, you know, you had a very impassioned plea on this show 2 weeks ago where you spoke about Vince McMahon and how this needs to stop. Well, if anybody ever needed any evidence that it's over, this really, I think, is it in a nutshell.
Yeah, to be fair, at first I thought it was totally justified because when I saw that it was in Liverpool, I assumed he was at Anfield and he was berating the home crowd for sitting in their fucking hands while the team are botching left, right, and centre.
Trying their best, though. Since
this was at the Echo Arena, you know, yeah, it's just a really strange thing to do, and anyone who's heard it, it's along the same school of thought as when Jerry Lawler was told to go, just buy the network on the air. You know what I mean? It's such desperation. And if you listen to it, you see it, like the crowd are just like, they don't know, is this in character, is this not? And I think you could have been better just going out there and saying, look, you're on a live TV show here, we'd like you to make some noise, you know, in a polite enough way, not like when TNA kind of did it, came out there and said, listen, you're members of a studio audience, either do what we tell you or you're gone. Yeah. But he could have gave them a little nudge, wink, wink thing instead of just going out there and abusing them. And I'm guessing they all kind of sat there and thought that was weird, and maybe thought, you know, if you're not a kind of a smart, you're sitting there going, what was that about? Maybe he'll be back out later, or maybe he's part of the authority, or you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it must have been very, very strange. And if you even kind of listen to the videos online, obviously it was captured a lot by camera phone, and you can hear the surrounding, you know, audience noise. Yeah, people really don't have a clue what's going on. Yeah. Also on that SmackDown set to air...
Listen, you know, this is what happens when you got somebody 82, 93, whatever age he is at this stage running the company, you know?
Also on SmackDown, something that will air, that was recorded this past Tuesday in Liverpool, is Jericho returning for a highlight reel segment only. To me, this is very sad in the sense that, say what you will about Jericho's returns being maybe weakened every time around, but the fact is, it really shows that he doesn't care anymore if he's going to let them put him on TV on a one-time only.
Yeah, know? He said, I recall he kind of said on the podcast with Brian and Dave recently, he didn't really want to go on TV, but Vince wanted it.
Yeah.
So yeah, the low light reel they should call it.
It's a sad affair, but it's just gonna be weird because we all pretty much presume he'll be back for Mania.
Would you bother wheeling him out there?
I think they would, yeah.
For what though? Like, he doesn't mean anything anymore.
Well, you look at the card and you look. Do you know what the most telling thing about Mania for me is leading into it? And tickets went on sale today. Is that poster? You seen it?
No.
Okay, so there's two different versions of the poster.
Mm-hmm.
One is Bryan, who is not by any means confirmed to be there.
No.
Brock, Cena, Henry.
Mark Henry.
Yeah.
But they always put him on posters.
Not recently. The last poster he was on was like 25 and they had like 25 guys on it. Ambrose, Reigns, and Bray. So this is your poster, okay?
So Rollins doesn't make it.
Rollins wasn't on the poster. And there was a second version of the poster with no Henry and Wade there.
Wade Barrett.
Yeah. So obviously they can't just throw Sting onto it now, and obviously Taker not being on it, is whatever. But I don't know, like the last few years they've had very minimal posters with just a couple of people on it, and like, last year was Brock and Cena and Taker or something, I think. And it was Brock and Cena and someone else, and the year before was Brock, Cena and Rock. So it's kind of like, I know they can't just throw Sting on it, but they could have even just put Hogan in there for posterity,
Yeah, I guess so.
It's a poor looking poster.
It's a poor looking roster, to be honest with you.
It is a poor looking roster, but so my point being that if that's the kind of like, if that's what they're advertising as WrestleMania, I can imagine them having Jericho back for it.
Yeah, but I just don't think he means anything anymore, so I don't see what the point would be.
So okay, well that was SmackDown. On the network after Raw, there was ECW Exposed, which was a Q&A session with Joey Styles and Paul Heyman. Did you watch it? Yeah,
I thought it was really disappointing. I thought the last 5 minutes when they did the Q&A was interesting. There was a couple of interesting Brian Pillman stories. Other than that, it was there's nothing new for anyone who'd seen any of the ECW DVDs or the Paul Heyman DVD. If you hadn't, I guess you might find it interesting. One thing that was interesting, though, apparently they did do another 30 minutes after they went off the air on the network of answering questions. I don't know if that's available on the internet or where, but I know Heyman was not happy that they cut the questions off so quickly. Okay. And in terms of the network itself, you've a note on it? Yeah, just they had some sort of a conference call with George Barrios yesterday, and there was a lot of questions in relation to the network. And the one that I found the most interesting was he was asked specifically about the fact that a lot of people are sharing accounts where they wear this, and specifically, what are you going to do about it? His answer was, we're going to do nothing. He said they taken into account the fact that there would be, quote unquote, some sharing of accounts, and he said, exactly what his words, he said, as long as it doesn't get to 50 people per password, then I think we're okay. So, two things. Number one, if you'd like to share an account with me, the first 49 people to comment in the box below the video may do so. We'll all put in 20 cents a month. And two, just to give you an exclusive scoop, Neil, 1 week ago we talked about the 731,000 subscribers to the network. They now have 730,999. I have cancelled my subscription as I refuse on moral grounds to pay for November when nobody else has to. Well, the most interesting thing happened to me last night. What was that? I haven't watched the network in about 10 days. And I haven't gone near the email address that I had set up to initially get the network. So we've been watching the Raws and Nitros from June 97. So we got to King of the Ring. So, okay, well, let's fire up the network so we can watch it in good quality. And my subscription had gone. Now, I thought it just rolled over into another 6 months, but no. My 6 months had gone, so I logged into that email, and they said, I went to an email that said it's you're going to expire in 1 day, which was a few days ago. They'd sent it, went through the system, and sure, got November for free. There you go. Excellent. But yeah, maybe we should just, I'll just give you my stuff after the show. Okay, no problem. Let's see here. TNA moving to Destination America. Yeah, we don't have this confirmed, but TNA has is close enough to a deal with a TV network called Destination America, which airs on U.S. cable television. That sources at Destination America told Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer that the deal was considered done. Destination America is owned by the National Geographic Channel. It is in approximately 50 million homes, between 50 and 55 million homes in the United States of America, which, to give you some context, is about half what Spike TV, TNA's current home, is in. So you would reasonably expect then that they would be getting half the money, something in that ballpark, especially if they have no other suitors. So there's a lot to say about this. I mean, you and I have spoken at length about TNA, Neill, and my desire for TNA to succeed, which is based purely on the fact that I think it's better for the people in the industry to have somewhere else to work. It's better for talent to be developed. Just the one example, because he's the shining star of 2014, is Michael Hutter, Ethan Carter III, who's a terrific piece of talent, who was cut by WWE, and he's really developed a niche for himself. And he someone like that would have nowhere to go, nowhere to kind of to refresh themselves if TNA does go away. But I also kind of look at it and think, if they're going to be earning, we believe they were earning about $13 million a year with Spike TV, and that's their primary source of income. They don't make money on house shows. They lose money. They probably make some money on the UK TV deal and a small bit of ancillary income worldwide on international television. But so we'll say they're down to, say, $7 million a year. If they were losing millions of dollars a year on 13, then they could be losing $10 million a year on 7. So at what point do they throw in the towel? Because for me, if you watch the TNA product, which I haven't been of late, which speaks volumes, because I'm always keen to give it a go and see how it is, and I've enjoyed it a lot, and by all accounts it's actually pretty good at the moment. But the last TNA show I watched was one of the ones that's in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, taped 6 or 7 weeks ago, and the lights are turned down and there's 200, 300 people in the crowd, and it's just so sad, and it really feels like a promotion that's on its last legs. And you have to ask the question, this time 6 months from now, if they are in Destination America, are they still taping in front of 200 people with the lights turned down and with pictures all over the internet of empty arenas, with the talent roster depleting? I mean, British Boot Camp is airing their second season at the moment, and on the first season you had people like Hogan, Sting, Kurt, you had all these Flair, all these people being guest stars on the show. Now who do they have?
Al Snow.
Al Snow and Samoa Joe. So
yeah.
I mean, what's your take? Do you? I mean, I know you've said before you want TNA out of business. What do you make of this TV deal?
Well, I don't want anybody to lose their job, but I just think that it's so hurt and it can never become proper competition. I don't even think it can become somewhere.
It never could.
I don't even think it could become somewhere that could cultivate a star, because
could they get back to the level they were at?
No.
I think so.
No, because they're not going to. Basically, this deal is exactly the best they could hope for. And what is that deal? That deal is one that's so unlike the Spike deal in the sense that they're not going to get somewhere that's going to help pay for an Impact Zone again. So to answer your question, will Destination America be airing episodes of Impact in darkly lit places in front of a couple hundred people? The answer is yes, at best. Because another thing, their house show business is so bad.
They need to stop. I mean, I read Controversy Creates Cash, the Eric Bischoff book, again this week, and I really like that book, and I know Bischoff is full of shit, which is one problem, and two, he's a terrible memory, which is another, but he does give you a real insight into the business of professional wrestling in that book. And he mentioned several times that when he first took over WCW and when he was going to take it over again in 2001, the first decision he made was, let's stop doing house shows because we're just losing money. TNA started running house shows in 2005, and it was kind of a strange decision at the time. I think it was more because they felt they needed to give the dates to the talent.
Yeah, because they wanted them exclusive.
But
from indies.
I mean, we see the pictures from TNA house shows. There's no way they're doing anything but losing their ass. Mm-hmm. It's bad public. It's not like in 1992 where WCW would go out and draw 200 people, but it's the only people who know are the people who read the Wrestling Observer. Every single wrestling fan who goes on the internet now sees those pictures. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it's damaging to the brand. I don't think that. I don't think they were ever going to be competition. I think that's a conversation. But there was a point where before they brought in Hogan Bischoff in 2010, they were profitable for one single year, 2009, because they had enough TV income and they were doing okay at house shows, doing okay on merch.
Yeah.
But I don't think they can get back there now.
Well, they can't.
Certainly not on Destination America. If you're in half the homes, and this is a station that nobody watches, if you're going from 1 million viewers now, you're probably going to be lucky to do 350 or 400,000. So that 200 people might become 50 people at your house.
Well, of course they're not going to get back there, and they don't deserve to, because the one time they were there, they squandered that money on people that ended up making the company worse by the time they left.
True, that's true, yeah.
So it's just, for me...
I would struggle to blame Hogan or Bischoff because I think at the end of the day,
payday, right? You
What?
know, I'm the management is who's
yeah,
to
at
blame.
the end of the day, it comes down to Dixie or to Bob Carter because, there's only one leader. And if you're, she had Russo as a writer, Bischoff was supposedly heading the business, but then you had Hogan openly telling the world that when Bobby Roode was supposed to win the championship, he put the kibosh on it. So, I mean, it's kind of, it's an awkward one.
Indeed, it is. So from one floundering promotion to another one that's gaining steam, that being New Japan Pro Wrestling, Jeff Jarrett is trying to start up a organization called Global Force, and right now they haven't really done anything. They don't have an official roster.
I need to talk about Global Force Wrestling. I think this is fucking.
They don't have an official roster. And
they don't have wrestlers. They don't have a roster. They don't have a ring.
They don't have a TV deal. But what they do have is they basically are hosting New Japan having their biggest show of the year on US pay-per-view. And one of the implications of that, not only it being on pay-per-view, is the commentary that's going to be over the English feed, and that is Jim Ross. Jim Ross is going to be flown over to Japan to call the January 4th show. And by all accounts, everybody says that New Japan is the best promotion in the world for ring-to-ring, bell-to-bell. And I'm one of those people, lazy people, whatever you want to call it, that I've tried to watch a couple of New Japan matches, but without context, to me, I find it very hard to even concentrate, let alone get fully involved. And the idea that the voice of wrestling to the majority of people our age is going to be doing it now, starting at their WrestleMania, I think it's the perfect storm for New Japan to pick up an awful lot of fans worldwide.
I'm on the fence on this. I think that it's such a niche product. I don't know what the appeal will be. I also think that a lot of the people who you are going to draw from are the kind of people who are going to go and use nefarious means, as we like to say, to see these shows. So how much money that'll actually make, I don't know. But at the same time, Ross has, I think he said his show with Sting was downloaded by 1 million people. So, and his average shows do 500,000 listeners or upward. Those people, if you get 3% of those people, right, which is say 15,000 people, to buy this New Japan show, and it's a roaring success because the show is already on the air. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So all they have to do is pay for Raw. So if you're getting 15,000 buys at $40 a pop, that's what, 20 a pop to the promotion, which is Neill.
Sorry, I didn't listen to the
300 grand.
Okay.
So that's that's 300 grand to the promotion. Which, say Ross is getting a check for 30 grand, 40 grand, whatever.
Are you taking out whatever the US pay-per-view is going to cut?
Yeah.
I'm saying that's phenomenal.
20 pop for the promotion, which, again, maybe they won't do that. Maybe they'll do 2,000 and it basically won't be worth their while. But,
Let me be super optimistic. You were saying, people will be getting it by nefarious means. Well, we can't buy it on pay-per-view, is the actuality of it. So maybe
I would possibly buy it. Yeah, I probably would.
But the point is that maybe it will garner enough interest that New Japan can do tours once a year in various locations.
Tours is big. I just think we live in a world where it's so difficult to get people out of the house to spend money. But I think if they can do I think Dave Meltzer mentioned that their idea is maybe to look at doing 4 big shows on US pay-per-view a year.
Okay.
It's going to be hard because you do need people to be familiar with storylines and characters. You said you're lazy. I have given New Japan a few goes this year. A lot of that has to do with AJ Styles. I think he's the best wrestler in the world. And even then, it's not as even things like you're not familiar with what somebody's finish is, which means it doesn't necessarily have the drama to you as it would somebody else. Whereas it'd probably be easier for Japanese to work out what the finish is of say John Cena or Randy Orton, since they use it about 12 times in every match. But so I'm hoping this deal works out. I'm very excited to hear Jim Ross call pro wrestling again. He hasn't called pro wrestling since 1992. And perhaps the most interesting part of the deal was something that Dave Meltzer wrote in The Observer, and it wasn't overt, and it wasn't until I saw something he said on the board that I understood that when the offers from New Japan came in, the WWE reached out to Jim Ross to bring him back, and he said no.
What?
They sent out feelers. And Dave, if you read The Observer, there's nothing overt in there. And
I do read The Observer, and I did read The Observer, and I did not know this.
And this is such a trademark, Dave. You know the way Dave can be really snarky and snide?
And sneaky.
Yeah, well, on the board, he's like, geez, I thought you people would be able to connect the dots and put 2 and 2 together. And we're like, Dave, there's just nothing in there. And anyway, so he pointed out that Vince obviously, paid JR for 11 months. He paid his non-compete, or he paid his salary so he couldn't go elsewhere.
Sure.
And that he is now going elsewhere. rankled Vince. We all know Vince. Vince is he wants what he can't have. You know.
Well, we talked about this a few weeks ago, and I thought that Jim would consider it. But this is a one-shot deal. I presume that, especially because it's through Jeff Jarrett, and Jeff Jarrett is only kind of like not actually officially with New Japan.
Jeff Jarrett's a fucking god. Just call it what it is.
The point is this: there's no way that this isn't a trial.
It's a trial. Yeah.
So the fact that Jay Orr is picking a trial over going back to WWE says to me that I don't see him ever going back.
No, I don't think so. I think maybe he's one beaten housewife who's taken his last beating.
Anything else to say about Global Force anyway? Well, before we
Jeff Jarrett is he's this used car salesman who travels the world wearing his fucking suits, right?
Does he wear a suit? He does not wear a suit.
He does with his fucking blonde fucking mohawk or mullet, whatever the fuck it is. I just don't like Jeff
and
Jarrett.
His beautiful wife.
And his beautiful wife.
And Kurt Angle's children.
You know those publicity pictures? How many children do you have now? About 12?
Well, how many? He has 3 of Kurt's now.
He's 3 girls, and then
Kurt's kids.
Karen has like 3, and I think there's another couple hovering around somewhere. I don't know who they belong to. But listen, the publicity shots the publicity shots of him and Karen that they took to launch Global Force Wrestling a year ago. Them with the white background, the trademark.
Yeah.
He looks fat in them, even though he's not fat. He has like this gel thing going on facially, and I'm sick of his fucking hair. Either grow it out or cut it short. Don't have this tippy tappy in the middle hair, like.
I like his hair. I always liked his hair a little long.
On, you want to see hair? You want to do blonde hair? This is how you want to do it. Neil.
Okay, they can't see. Well, speaking of people who decided to go middle of the road hair later on in their career, Willie Regal did a.
You went for Kieran Brady hair.
Kieran Brady went for Willie Regal hair.
That's true.
So Willie Regal did a kind of a Q&A show, kind of a one-man show, after Raw this week, and revealed that he had really severe neck fusion surgery over the last year, and the Cesaro level 3, and that the Cesaro match will most likely be his last.
Yeah, congratulations on a career well done. I'm not really sure much to say. It's always a shame the way someone like a Regal or like Ross before him, he's not a Vince guy, so Vince kind of casts him aside and just puts him somewhere out of his way. But like they keep a job because obviously Hunter or others are putting in a good word for him. But like Regal is somebody I think who could be used in a much better way, maybe in commentary, maybe as an authority figure or a manager. Put him as a heater with a heel or something.
Like Regal and Barrett together. Like people say guys who already talk shouldn't have somebody who can also talk, because it's a waste.
I think he'd be great with the big guy.
Just look at Heyman and Punk.
I think he'd be great with the big guy.
Well, the big guy...
Skip Sheffield and Willie Regal reunited.
Judging by what the big guy was allowed to do on Superstars, I don't think the big guy needs anybody.
Listen, the big guy...
Did you see that interview?
The big guy is headlining next year's WrestleMania, man.
Did you see that interview?
I did not. The one with Axel.
Ken.
The Axeman, the big guy.
You of all people would love it because it's the most organic. It doesn't feel like one word was written. It literally feels like 2 guys who travel the roads together getting 2 minutes to talk nonsense, and that's what they talked. So they made up so much nonsense. Imagine they got
90 minutes to talk nonsense like you and
I. Okay, I was trying to do a segue there when I was talking about CM Punk and Heyman. He's gotten the go-ahead to write a comic about a young Thor. So that's interesting, isn't it? He's not known for his writing credentials.
This isn't interesting at all. No,
it is interesting.
CM Punk, I wouldn't like to discuss him, to be honest.
It is interesting.
It's just he's a celebrity, so they're going to.
Is he though?
What?
Is he?
He is kind of a. I'd say in the Chicago area, he's kind of a quasi-celebrity. Yeah,
I'd say so. Well, that's
because he's sung "Take Me to the Ball Game" at Chicago Field, wherever it's called.
That's right.
He's done that twice now. He's married to a fellow quasi-celebrity. He's he really did have Chicago behind him in that pay-per-view in 2011.
Sure.
He's got the punk band connection. I think he's kind of somebody he's got the Gracies. He's somebody who has a coolness to him, and the fact that he walked away from wrestling, I think, makes him cool as well.
Well, this is really his first official project since leaving, so that's interesting. Because do you remember he sent out a tweet saying that he was either going to start a band or a podcast or whatever, and none of these things had happened. Yeah. Speaking of tweets, I should have brought this up with TNA. Bully Ray seems to be fed up beyond belief. He kind of tweeted basically that when when the generals don't talk to the soldiers die or something like that.
Just fuck off.
Would you hire him if you were Vince?
This is so. I'm so irritated by this tweet, but at the same time, I love Bully Ray.
Ken, you'd have to hire him.
So yes, I would. Yeah,
I'd have him back.
Not only would I hire him, actually, he'd be my main events.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Him and the big guy as a tag team.
Yeah, Willie Regal managing them.
Okay.
I'm gonna fancy book when we talk about Raw.
All right, like Russo on his website.
Like, no, not that.
Have you
bad.
seen these?
Listen, bro. Did you hear that he said that?
We're going to get to that podcast in a minute.
Okay, let's not talk about him yet. I'll just.
Yeah, I got a lot to say about him too. So,
you've listened to it, have you?
Teddy Long, only the first part of it, and it's everything you'd expect and more. Teddy Long's trailer for Kayfabe Commentary's You Shoot.
His trailer that he lives in with Jamie Noble and Nydia.
Did I talk about the SmackDown where he came back and he actually affirmed the first lyric of a song, which is "Here Comes the Mac Militant," because
Yes,
he referred to
he did,
himself. Did you see this trailer for his You Shoot?
No, I did hear what he said though.
Oh, Ken, this trailer looks like literally because see, I don't think Teddy's a bullshitter. He just seems so old and he just doesn't give a fuck. And the stuff that he's like, the stuff about like the acolytes double teaming women on the road. Of course, JBL was married.
Didn't hear that bit.
Yeah. One of the questions
I didn't
was
see the trailer. I just read some clip, the bits in the Observer, basically.
he was talking about, oh no, you need to see this trailer. It's the funniest 5 minutes you'll ever see. So it's just, Sean Oliver says, was there any tag teams that, tag teamed rats? And he goes, yep, ABA.
I can well believe it as well.
And he told another story about Foley. Now see, here's the thing. Foley got married, I think in 93. This is a WCW story, but there's no way that Foley wasn't somehow connected with his wife at the time.
Right.
But the story that Tay Long told us that they were rooming kind of place, and Foley was making up to a very big woman,
Right.
and that Foley put his hand down the bunk and reached out to Ron Simmons, so Ron Simmons would hold Foley's hand for support during it. Teddy didn't know what to make of this. Like,
I don't know what to make of that either.
he said some serious shit. What else did he say?
He said that Arn Anderson and Ric Flair would regularly joke around backstage.
He
using
didn't
the
say
N-word.
no. He didn't say Iron. It was Rick. He said.
Okay.
He said Ole Anderson.
He said that Bobby Lashley had some serious jealousy issues
Yeah.
when he was in the storyline with Crystal Marshall, which I was glad he said because it reminded me of the existence of Crystal Marshall.
You know what, man? It really does seem like the most entertaining You Shoot ever. Speaking of You Shoot, another person who's done a You Shoot, that now he won't be able to do a You Shoot, so he got it in just on time, is Del Rio, because he's come to an agreement now where he can't talk shit about them anymore.
Yeah, basically they've paid him off, which was smart on their end.
Yeah, so what's the deal now? He basically came
Basically, he got a financial settlement, and he got a release where it's believed he's allowed to work anywhere. Although I'm still suspicious. I still think they wouldn't let him rock up to TNA.
Really?
And I think he knows that there's more money probably broad anyway.
They're happy with him doing Lucha Underground, though, because he's on his way there.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. To be honest with you, I would like to see him in TNA. I think he's somebody who you could really build a promotion around as a world champion.
Well, for them now, yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, for them now. For them at any time, I think he's somebody who... I don't see him as a top guy in the top promotion, but a top guy in the secondary promotion I do. I think he's the kind of guy who would have made a great WCW world champion.
Like Jeff Jarrett.
He would have made a good Ric Flair, you know what I mean?
Fuck you, Ken.
What?
Just stop.
No, sorry, Rick would have made a great WWF champion. My point was, he was a very different type of world champion to Hulk Hogan, and he could have good matches.
Okay.
He was a heel. Do you understand what I mean?
But we were just talking about Jeff Jarrett. So, you see...
here.
Okay.
Look, I may be on the record of saying that I don't think Rick was necessarily all that and a bag of potato chips, but he's certainly vastly better than Jeff Jarrett. Although, Jarrett did have some good wrestling matches in his time.
Him and Sean at In Your House too.
Him and Kurt Angle had a house show match that I saw that was very good. It was only about a week after that fantastic match at TNA Genesis, where Kurt Angle slammed him off the stage. Remember? And
they had some good matches.
They had some really good matches.
They did, yeah. No,
Jarrett had kind of an old school Memphis working, like Lawler kind of thing.
Yeah, well, I think he could do a bit more. The thing about Jarrett that I always found is he never looked super duper awkward. He reminded me of Owen in the sense that by no means he was nowhere near as flashy or as spectacular as Owen or as technically sound, but Jarrett always could wrestle to someone else's strengths. I felt.
Yeah, that's fair.
I always, anybody he was in there with, he always kind of could guide them through. And when he
carried Chris Benoit to a good match, actually, I remember.
The ladder match.
Yeah. Carried him through it.
And another thing about Jarrett is he'd always have good matches with good people. Like he had a few great matches with AJ, good match with Sean, good matches with Kurt.
AJ Styles, sorry.
Yeah, the best wrestler in the world, according to yourself. I think that's all the news, really.
Actually, speaking of AJ, did you see she launched her website?
Oh, she's out of there.
AJBrooks.com.
AJBrooks.com.
Interesting.
She's out of there. She's out of there by the end of the year, they all think.
It's interesting because they still have the strap on her, you know. But
Ross
Jim Ross
had
said
been saying it, but now it came out
I
on
find it
Figure
very
4.
interesting. I almost feel sad for her in a way, in that feels very much like it's something that's led by her husband.
Yeah, because it was her dream. Like.
Yeah, and I mean she's got that tattoo and stuff. And listen, if she's living her dream,
man, it could
and
be.
She's still the most pushed female in the company.
Absolutely, but it could be simply a case where maybe she saw what it did to her husband, and now she's just not as enamored as she was. And as well, look at what the female ceiling is in the WWE. She had main event storylines with the top guys at the time fighting for the title. She's had the belt now. She's the most featured girl on television. She was a general manager. She was in love triangles. There's nothing more she can do.
That's very true, yeah.
Okay, I think that's... Oh, yeah, the physicals. And this is another thing, note in the Observer, that basically, I think if we're going to harken back to a few minutes ago and Dave and his kind of, read between the lines thing, he reported that obviously the physicals are going to be very stringent leading into WrestleMania, and he referenced Hogan and Sting taking them. Now, this is basically saying that these are people who will be taking them. Mm-hmm. So Hogan is going to try, isn't he?
Yeah, it's believed so. But what's the match for him, maybe
look,
Cena?
I don't know. I've had this conversation with people. If he can pass the medical, he still can't wrestle. He actually physically can't. Like, if he can't, like, the leg drop's out of the question. He can't. Do you think he can lift his leg high enough for a big boot? I know he can't.
I don't know, because I don't remember the last time I saw him try it. He does move better than he did in TNA at times.
But he moves like a wooden fucking sculpture.
That is true. Listen, if Great Khali is still out there having matches.
And yeah, but the advantage with Khali's big boot is he only really has to lift a chin high to get most people.
The Great Khali just shouldn't be wrestling. His back looks like a smashed wardrobe.
Okay, so last Thursday we didn't have a show because I went to the house
You're
show.
selfish.
What?
You're selfish. Got 2 tickets to pro wrestling and you didn't bring me, Neill.
I know I did.
Your first wife.
But the thing is, you had also admitted that you were thinking of going, and you weren't going to bring.
It's funny though. I thought about
Ben.
texting our confidant, who shall remain nameless and not get credit on the air. And I know it's just a buzz, man. Listen, I thought about texting him, but I was kind of almost like, would I really be bothered finding babysitting? Nah, I can't be bothered. And there you are, the first time he came through in a long time. Yeah.
Okay, I'll just give you some notes, and then we're going to go to the interview with my friend who was working the show, and he's got a few interesting things to say. It was pretty full. Now, I was sitting in the area of comps, right?
Yeah.
And there wasn't many other people around me that I think got comps. It was actually mostly kids and families around me.
Yeah.
So the broader sections, they had the whole place opened up, and they've switched the layout. Do you remember they used to have the little, they used to have the entrance to the side at the back?
Yeah.
Now, completely...
Same as UFC kind of thing.
Same as UFC. Now at the back, they've got a straight, proper setup with three mini-trons and a straight, an actual ramp down.
Right.
And it's actually a lot more clever because it means they can sell more quote-unquote ringside tickets.
I see, okay.
Yeah, it's very clever. But it does make the ring slightly more central to the building, so that's nice. The opening match was Adrian Neville versus Sami Zayn.
You said it wasn't quite sold out.
Not quite, but not like far off.
I actually think that's kind of a disappointment though.
97% full?
Yeah, but listen, I have an exclusive. That 2 things. Not only did UFC sell this building out,
stop it, Ken.
Earlier this year, okay?
The first time in 4 years.
I have it on good authority after conversation with Robert Gibson that he and Ricky Morton sold this place out earlier this year, and they were hanging from the rafters, Gabe.
I don't think Ricky Morton has ever wrestled in Ireland.
Fair.
He might have been here in WCW in the early 90s. Anyway, so it opened with Sami Zayn versus Adrian Neville. And
the opener, that's very strange.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was really, really good.
Happy days.
The next thing was Adam Rose versus Justin Gabriel. Kieran, who we'll be hearing from later, has.
By the way, when you say fantastic, what are we talking? 3 stars, 3.5?
Maybe a little more. Yeah, about 3.5.
Okay.
The next thing was Adam Rose versus Justin Gabriel. This is a very interesting one because they obviously know each other, from South Africa.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's kind of a generalization. It's a big country, isn't it?
I think they do. I think they probably wrestle for... Whose dad is a promoter over there?
I don't know.
I can imagine that they've met each other before.
Somebody's dad, somebody's husband, somebody's father,
somebody's brother. Somebody's brother. But they work. The thing is, they worked pretty snug. Everything looked really good. This unfortunately wasn't a trait that would last the rest of the night. Next, they aired a video.
Oh dear.
They tried to air a video for the Vince McMahon UK network apology.
I knew this was going to happen when I saw that he'd done the video on the website. I thought they're going to air that in Ireland and it's going to say the UK and it's going to go over badly.
And what was even worse was that they couldn't get the video on. So they cut the audio early. and my friend was sitting beside the producer, so he'll have some more to say about that. But they dodged a bullet because the fans were already going ape shit. Let me see what else we had. Then we had a Divas match. Natalia, Emma, Naomi against Summer Rae, Layla and Cameron.
Did they do the thing where they polled the fans if they wanted a singles match or a six?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is outrageous.
Wow, it's just everyone went, yeah, no.
Yeah. And this was Cody Rhodes.
I bet there were 4 divas sitting back there going, oh Jesus, my payout.
This was Eden was doing all this, Cody Rhodes' wife.
The announcing.
And she's a jack of all trades. She was essentially hosting the show, doing the ring announcing and being the timekeeper. Cutbacks, my friend, cutbacks.
Yeah, absolutely.
They had literally 2 people at ringside. And she was
Who's
one
the
of
other
them.
one?
Oh, just like literally some guy like running cable.
I see, okay, yeah.
You know, but if you've never seen Naomi in person, it's insane that a human being looks like this
The
naturally.
comedic proportions.
I
don't think her boobs are natural.
They are.
Yeah. Do you have evidence of this?
I'm 90% sure they are.
Right. Okay.
Seriously.
Okay.
I'm
I'm
pretty
very, very cynical when it comes to these things.
But she's incredible looking. I remember when I saw her first in person, I was at an access queuing for something, and her and Brodus and Cameron walked by.
Mm-hmm.
At like the outskirts of access, you know, like the little like where they go in and out, and I was just like, that's not a real person, you know, it's outrageous. But this was
she has a large bottom,
a very big bottom. But this was whatever. Then Dolph and Cesaro for the Intercontinental title was a big disappointment.
Was it? Yeah.
They didn't do much. Cesaro did none of his signature spots, and it was mostly heat on Dolph. And then Dolph came back and won. Then we had the intermission, and then we had Fandango come out, and boy oh boy. To put into context, this is mostly like families, young children.
Yeah.
And for Emma, they were like doing the Emma dance. You know?
I can't believe she's still employed. But anyway, go on.
Well, re-employed.
Yeah, there you go, yeah.
But they were doing the Emma dance. So this is just the kind of level we're at, right? But when Fandango came out, that is dead and buried. Almost
Really?
nobody was doing it.
Wow.
So that's how fickle children are, if you didn't know.
I think he's off TV because they're going to relaunch him in some way, shape, or form. What do you think?
I don't know, man. Like
Because he's off TV. It's not like there's nothing for him.
No, he's off.
There's a decision to take him off.
And I forgot he existed. But speaking of somebody else who hasn't been on TV, his opponent was R-Truth.
R-Truth. Oh, Jesus.
Now, I texted you
Cake
during
Rush.
this because we watched WCW pay-per-view a while ago in New Orleans from the early 90s.
Oh, yeah, the whoop, there it is.
And the whoop, there it is. And after R-Truth got them all doing What's Up, he got them all doing whoop, there it is. And somehow, some way, all the children knew it and they were doing it. Now, tell me this, is whoop, there it is back?
I think it's like a caveman thing. I think if you go back to like the times 3,000 years before Christ in the caveman, ooh, 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 I think it came from there, you know what I mean?
I just want to clarify that there wasn't cavemen 3,000 years before Christ.
Whatever the fuck.
Okay.
I'm not a geologist, damn it.
Nor do you claim to be.
No.
R-Truth made short trip to Fandango and he got on the mic and said, I'll challenge anybody else to try and do that again. And out came the Ryback.
Big guy.
The big guy was very over.
Big necks, big checks, yeah.
Big necks, big checks. He killed Fandango. There's a tremendous amount of comedy on the show with the Bunny and Adam Rose, Emma, Fandango on the mic. It was a very...
That's what they do, isn't it?
You know. Then we had the Rhodes brothers against Goldust and Stardust. Another very interesting thing coming from the interview to follow regarding...
You're killing this interview, by the way.
You're
going to kill this interview.
I'm trying my best here because I realised I have nothing to say about the show because it wasn't very good. But yeah, so we had this was a fine match. They worked hard. They threw Stardust gloves into the crowd, which would
Stardust and Goldust against the Usos.
Yeah,
is that a first time ever?
Yeah, it's the first time ever.
Oh, okay.
They threw his gloves into the crowd, which I thought would have been a nice memento to take home.
Yeah, because I'm sure maybe they make them. Maybe they sell them at the merchandise stand.
They don't.
They didn't sell them on the shop on the website.
No, and the merchandise stand was really poor. You know, they almost had nothing there. Yeah,
bet they just had a load of Cena stuff, did they?
Yeah.
Did they have the merch, the October merch, the Susan G. Komen gear?
No, they don't bring that internationally ever.
Really?
Yeah.
So they just literally had. I can't think of anything. They have the
tour T-shirt.
The what?
A tour T-shirt. God, I think they had.
They had the Randy blue one.
Yeah.
Ugh. Randy, what's the deal with Randy's merch?
Oh, never been good.
No.
It's like really, really bad tap out gear.
It really is.
Yeah.
It was worse back then. Back in the day, it was really tap out, but now it's just like it's the snake, like, you know what I mean?
So then the main event was.
Did they have Roman Reigns gear?
I don't think so.
Daniel Bryan.
Yes.
Meltzer tried to claim in the Observer that Reigns was the second biggest merch seller. I'm just like, fuck off, Dave. You know what I mean? Fuck off.
He isn't as old.
There's just no way.
Um,
There's one T-shirt and it says "Believe in Roman Reigns" or some shit like that.
the main event was there was so much Cena merchandise everywhere. The main event was Cena against Bray and Kane, which was just so thrown together. Just a couple of
It's
notes.
just, I mean,
Unbelievable.
the fact, by the way, that quote unquote corporate Kane is working main events on house shows. I mean, if I was there, I would have cried.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Um,
Can I ask something? Was there more crowd heat for this match or for Conor against Brando at the O2 in July?
what do you think?
I'm gonna guess maybe narrowly Conor and Brando.
So what happened was
They had a bad match.
they had a very okay. Let me just a couple of notes on this. First off, it was the most pro Cena noise I've ever heard, and this I'm including,
Irish people have a bit of sense, is what you're telling me there.
No,
now.
I'm including the house shows because I've been to house shows with John Cena on it before, where you're going to get more pro Cena anyway. But this was like super duper pro Cena. There's Cena shirts everywhere. Bray was very good during Cena's entrance. Stuff he was doing. He was going back up onto the ramp, going behind Cena. Like he was standing in the darkness and stuff like
going
that.
into business for himself. Yeah.
Definitely going into business for himself, but it was nice because it felt like different. Cena was the hardest working guy in this show.
Sure
Now it might have been a circumstantial issue because he was in a handicap match, and like there was no way the handicap match could have been anything except heat on Cena for the majority.
Yeah.
But he wasn't, unlike other people, he wasn't taking anything half baked.
Why
He was bumping like mad.
I don't understand that match. Why isn't it just Wyatt against Cena with Kane at ringside?
It
as the
had
referee?
been, it had been, but they just decided to put Kane in the match.
Maybe it's to do with one of them got a knock the night before or something.
Well, anyway, that was the show. Cena won with the AA to send the crowd out. I'm happy. Then they both double team Cena, but Dolph ran out to make the save, and Dolph and Cena celebrated at the end. It was the worst house show I've ever been at.
Really?
It was my fourth or fifth. Wait a minute. Sorry, it's like my 7th or 8th house show. I was just thinking of one since like the last few years, but then like I'm thinking about it. Do you remember me and you went to the SmackDown one with Taker and
Yeah,
JBL
yes,
and Eddie and stuff, and there was all that era when they came over quite frequently, 2005, 2004. But the main note coming out of this is the second time this year that they've ran the O2 without bringing Sheamus.
That's stupid, isn't it? It's so typical of this company, you know.
But
it's like when they had
is it typical of this company?
they had one of the Harts penciled in to sign access when Stu Hart was going in the Hall of Fame, and that was called on the day. Basically, they had to panic and run around and try and fix that. But it's just trademark this company. They don't book things for the local market. This is an area where we'll compare UFC to WWE. The UFC does everything they can to capitalize on the local marketplace. As I once heard Lance Storm years ago on a show with Brian Alvarez, they went to a show in Canada and all the Canadians got beaten. And the Hurricane turned to Lance and he was really pissed off. And Lance kind of was trying to say, look, it's not that big a deal. And the Hurricane said, if you went to a wrestling show and you knew everything was fake and every single thing that you wanted to happen didn't, would you bother coming back? You know what I mean? And that's trademark for this company.
Super true.
Yeah.
Super true point by Shane Helms. Okay, so we're going to go to the interview now with Kieran, recorded earlier this week, about his experiences working backstage at the WWE house show last Thursday. So I'm joined here now by Kieran, close personal friend. He's actually the bass player on the opening track to our sister podcast, the ITK Soccer Show. So you're already quite known in our podcast world. But the reason we have you here is because you were working at the WWE house show last Thursday in the O2, or 3 Arena, excuse me. So what were your experiences like? Tell me about your day getting there and what you had to do and who you met and whatnot.
Well, I didn't exactly do much because I got a text saying, can you come in?
Okay.
So, got there at 6:30, you know.
Sure.
Handy enough. But what better way? I'm just going to move this ever so slightly because I can feel like I'm more personal with you then.
Yeah, exactly.
Make
That's how we
eye
want
contact.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, landed in, got our passes, which I'll give you one of, you know.
I think I'll hang it up in the studio.
Yeah, you'd want to.
I will.
Take loads of pictures of it and everything and be like, oh yeah, my personal present.
I will, I promise.
So, basically, just hung out and waited for the producer to tell us what to do.
So what was the name of the producer?
All I got was Mark. I never actually met him.
Okay, you never met him.
No,
Now, I'm
I
wondering-
could see him.
Okay, tell me this. Was he kind of a tiny bit tubby, and did he have kind of like receding black hair, short hair?
When I say I could see him, I was literally looking across the O2 and there was a desk lamp.
I'm wondering if it was Mark Carano. Because I know he's head of talent relations. Well, he's kind of like in talent relations. So I was trying to decipher when we were texting during the show who this Mark could be. So you spent the show at the Spotlight, right?
I did.
And so tell me some of the production stories. Was the person who was kind of manning, you were basically where the sound and video playing was happening, right?
I was above the video control.
Okay, excellent. And we've got a couple of mishaps to talk about. The first is they aired the Vince McMahon apology for the UK network being delayed. And obviously when he said the UK and UK only, it got a tremendous amount of boos. But the video didn't actually play, it was just the audio.
Yes.
So they cut it.
Yes.
Now, did they decide to cut it because of the boos or because there was no video?
Originally because of the video.
Okay.
But within later conversation, it was decided that they were going to run it a second time or try run it a second time.
Wow.
But with the fact that it did say the UK twice, and as the story went, the reason they were playing it was because it was to do with Sky, and Sky is also the base in Ireland.
That's it, yep.
That's why they were running the same video. But the fact that apparently it never actually said Sky at all.
Yes.
It only referred to the UK.
That's right.
Which was twice. They decided it was probably for the best not to try it the second time.
Well, it's good that at least somebody in the company... So, sorry, just to clarify, the person who you heard this conversation, he was running basically the video and audio, was he?
It was between him and the producer.
And these are WWE personnel? These aren't like people brought in for just the house shows?
Yeah, I think the video guy was actually making all the noise over there.
Don't mind him.
Squeaking. Very somber, quiet there. Yeah, it was an English guy doing the video.
Okay.
So he might have just been over on the European tour.
Sure. So it might be a case where it wasn't somebody from WWE that realised the faux pas of having the UK ad play, or the UK apology play.
Well, yeah, the producer kind of realised that he'd said it, and this isn't the UK; it shouldn't really be used.
Yes.
So he knew what was going on.
So is that why they scrapped the idea to run it a second time?
Yes, it was his call.
Okay, so you were basically the guy who was running the audio visual aspect of the entrances and the lighting. It was having conversations back and forth with the producer. So what else did you overhear during matches?
During matches, there was some classic lines such as, "What's he going to do now? Fuck the bunny?"
Okay, so this was when Adam Rose was against Justin Gabriel and the bunny came out. So the lighting guy on hand was not a fan of this bunny.
I don't know. Maybe.
Was it the producer who said it, or was it Mark?
It was the producer, yeah.
Okay, now if that was Mark Carano, that's incredible because it's not like it's the first time he's seen this bunny. So they weren't high on the bunny.
Yeah, it just seemed a bit weird, Passing comments.
Okay, anything else? What was there stuff said during the Divas match?
I think I was too distracted during the Divas match, to be honest with you. I'm not going to lie about that one. It's the first time I ever thought, wow, this is a great Divas match.
Okay, it wasn't half bad.
Well, it was...
It looked very good.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah. Okay, so there was also an incident with a filter for the spotlight.
Oh, yeah.
So what happened there?
So, well, it started off with, is there any light? Oh, is there any red in those lights? So before the show started, we were kind of flicking through our frames to see were there any red frames, and sadly not. So it was decided, we'll try and get some. So all of a sudden, as I'm sat watching the match, probably the Divas match, as I said, really wasn't paying attention, I got a tap on the shoulder out of nowhere, completely scared me. And the guy literally goes, "Here's some red for you." I'm sat there going, yeah, sure. What do you want me to do with this, But yeah, it was said that it was for Kane.
Uh-huh.
Now, the thing was, there was this big worry about having red for Kane on the spotlight.
Sure.
But he came out as corporate Kane and it was never needed.
Now, he's been corporate Kane for quite some time. So the idea that this is a shot, I don't understand how this wouldn't get to the relevant people that this wasn't needed and there was some sort of panic about a red a red filter.
Yeah.
Okay, so anything else interesting that was overheard during any of the matches? Did they comment on the crowd reactions or?
Yeah, they were saying how obviously as they run the disclaimers and that at the start, it's all to build up the hype and whatnot. And they were just saying that the reaction was so great. And then after the John Cena match, the place just flooded, and pretty much the reaction from them was, wow, with them all standing, it makes the place look small.
Yeah,
everyone on the feet.
John Cena did get a tremendous reaction. There was so many kids there.
Oh, yeah.
I've been to quite a few house shows, and it's kind of similar to on TV where he's 50-50, you know?
Yeah.
But it was, you always hear the reports is that the house shows, it's more family-orientated in terms of the attendance, and he always gets these huge reactions. It was probably the most positive John Cena reaction I'd ever heard. Very few adult males chanting CM Punk or boo or anything like that.
Cena's great.
Well, I'm glad you think so. My opinions are well known. Look, I will say one thing.
I don't listen to the podcast, so what are your opinions on Cena?
Well, I've seen enough. I'm one of those. But
Cena, enough?
Exactly. now you're talking.
Oh,
no,
wow.
but I will say one thing about Cena, and I'll make sure not to repeat it on the actual podcast itself. But one thing I noticed was that a lot of people were working comfortably. It was a house show. They didn't have to lay anything in because it wasn't on TV. But Cena really was had tremendous effort, I thought.
Yeah, I thought what was the NXT match, was it?
That was Sami Zayn and Adrian Neville.
I thought they really put in a lot.
That was the match of the night.
Yeah.
For me.
When they were jumping off the top rope onto each other against the barrier, and it was so close.
Yes.
Normally they have a lot more room between the ring and the barrier, but fair play to them.
No, they worked their asses off.
Yeah.
No, but I thought Cena tried a lot. He didn't half take anything. He was throwing himself around for Bray and so just in closing, any other kind of overheard comments that were interesting, or tell us in general what did they look after the people who were hired, like yourself? Was it a good experience?
Yeah, it's great. Everyone seemed very pleasant. When I'd been texting you, it hadn't hit me at the time because I still remember him as K Quick, but I had actually seen him backstage.
Really?
Yeah, but didn't recognise him because he's not K Quick anymore.
What I couldn't believe about that was we reviewed a show from '94.
Yeah.
WCW show, and Whoomp There It Is was really popular at the time. The crowd kept chanting it all night long, and I just I'd forgotten that existed. It was such a throwback. And then R-Truth came out and got the crowd to chant that.
Yeah.
And they all knew it. And this isn't something he's been doing on TV. So I was just flummoxed. I was
he really went for it on that.
He did. All right, well, excellent stuff. Well, thank you so much, Kieran, for letting us know.
Give me one more story.
Go for it.
Which my most interesting fact that I found out was that up until the moment that the pinfall between Goldust and Stardust is
and the Usos
finished. Yeah, up until any match with Goldust and Stardust, they don't know who's going to win. They don't know who's going to get the pinfall.
Really?
Yep. They're notorious, apparently, for changing who's going to take the final pinfall.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And is this exclusive to when Gold and Stardust take on the Usos, or is just any Gold and Stardust match?
Any Goldust Stardust match.
So they don't know if they're going to go over and win. They don't know who's actually getting.
I'll put it one way. It was supposed to be Stardust who did end up picking up the pinfall.
Sure.
But the producer was sat there at one point, dying minutes of the match, going, I don't know which one it's going to be. It looks like it could be Stardust, but then something would happen. It'd be like, no, it's Goldust. Cue up Goldust's video.
Oh, right. Okay, so that's... Oh, they have different videos for it.
Yeah, it came down to the videos. The music's the same, so they were like, they're not worried about that aspect of it. But yeah, with the two of them, they're very changeable.
That is incredible. That's brilliant. Excellent.
All right, that's a nice exclusive here.
Yeah, that is. Any other scoops while you're at it? Something overheard about Kane, which I find very interesting.
Well, he's looking very fit, as we all know these days.
Yeah, like as soon as he came out, Claire was like, "I can't believe the shape he's in," because there's several times over the last 10 years he hasn't looked like this. you know?
Yeah, he's kind of had that kind of pot belly on him.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, from what I've seen anyway, which wouldn't be a whole lot, apart from, certain friends of ours standing up screaming in someone else's living room going, Kane!
Proper Kane.
Yeah, we've got some Kane fans here. All right,
So, go for it, Kane, yeah. So, he's looking very lean, according to the producer. And with a conversation that they had, was, did you think Kane would be wrestling with his top off? And Kane's simple response of it was, at this stage of my career, I didn't think I'd be wrestling without a mask, let alone a shirt.
so this was a conversation they had about a conversation Mark had with Kane. Is that right?
Yes.
Aha.
He was passing on information to another buddy of his on the line.
That is fascinating. That's excellent. So, anything else that was overheard? Because that's gold right there.
Not really.
So, as somebody who used to watch a lot, like most people our age, and doesn't really watch too much anymore, did you find it enjoyable as like a real casual fan?
I thought the entertainment factor was brilliant. I was laughing a lot.
Yeah, they were very hammy. There was a lot of like silliness, wasn't there?
Yeah, but not too immature.
Sure.
Like, obviously, you're saying that the kind of house shows are for more family orientated than that.
Mhm.
I didn't think it was that, childish.
Sure.
There was still the humour that you could sit and find at a normal show.
Excellent. And just in closing, your view is that they found it a success. They thought the crowd was very good.
Yes,
Excellent. It was a pretty full house.
it was.
Yeah, I was very surprised. It was a very, very tippy top that had empty seats.
Yeah.
So a good show. Well, listen, thanks very much for letting us in on what it was like, and I'm sure we'll talk to you next time about it.
Sure.
And we're back. So there you go. Some interesting stuff.
Yeah, fascinating interview.
Now, was this Mark Carano?
No,
Why?
I just don't believe Mark Carano is making these tours and all that kind of thing. Maybe he'd be at TVs, but I don't think he'd be at house shows.
Well, it's just
It's not
weird
in a
that
podunk town like Dublin.
it's weird that whatever producer they had still had such disdain for the bunny, because one would presume he had seen it before.
I heard the bunny has a name.
No,
Fuck the bunny. Is that what I heard you say?
is that the
I heard
gag?
him say that's the gag. Yeah.
Okay. And what do you think about that Golden Stardust thing? That they
That
just
sounds very strange. I'm wondering if there's a miscommunication somewhere along the line there.
really.
I can't imagine that they go on Monday Night Raw and decide which one of them is taking the finish.
Oh, I don't think he was implying it was on
On
Raw.
house shows, though, I mean, maybe it's something you could see. Yeah.
Because it's Gold Dust, and I'm sure he's half an
Surely
agent
don't,
now.
don't
Anyway.
they have like a joint Titantron and music now?
No, I actually noticed they don't, because you remember what happens is when they make their entrance, Goldust comes out first to his music and Titantron, and then the Star comes up and Cody comes out.
I see. Okay.
Do you remember? Think about their entrance.
Neil,
Goldust
I don't
waits
care
for
about
him.
the entrance that much to notice.
You just asked a fucking question about the entrance.
Maybe
Okay.
it's true. I don't know, but it's not something that.
Yeah, I
goes
think
up
it is. And alluding to the fact that Kane's in such good shape. Do you think there is anything there?
Just that whole thing. Whenever I think of the idea that what he said, the fact that he's working in
2014
slacks,
in slacks.
it's just serious. I'm not even joking. Like, it's okay. I know that the stuff with Daniel Bryan was campy and bad earlier this year. Okay, but you can get Kane over to a level like they did in 2012 in the feud with Cena, where he was railing against Cena's rise above hate gear. With that outfit on and the mask on, people want to see Kane with the mask. That's the nostalgia in him, because at this stage he is a nostalgia character. There's so much time invested in that character. He'll always be over to a level. Dave always mentions this in the Observer and the house show reports. He always gets a huge reaction at house shows, right?
Yeah.
And people don't want to see him as like this fucking 47-year-old libertarian with short, ginger, balding hair and wearing a pair of slacks. I just think it's terrible.
But does that
And-
not automatically get him heat because they're not seeing the Kane they want?
No, because he's not a money
Okay.
character at this stage. And I think that I watch Raw, and it's an enormous source of frustration, as we discussed before. But I think that there's such a ready-made role in the Authority for somebody like that. And I would put Cesaro in. I would nickname him Authority Muscle, and I would have him be part of the security team with what are their names?
Mercury and
And Noble, yeah, have him. He's got the earpiece gimmick in. But he can wrestle. You know what I
don't
mean?
call him Authority Muscle, and you've got to deal with me.
If I don't call him that,
Yeah.
we'll see.
That's as bad as Corporate Kane.
It's better than Corporate Kane.
They might as well call Hunter Boss Triple H.
That's fine by me.
All right.
Listen, no, but the point is, it's just anyway.
Well,
Kane doesn't need to be in the squad.
We'd like to thank Kieran for his interview, and
Thank you, Kieran.
hopefully he'll be doing it again in April. Be very interesting
Fingers and toes crossed.
if he gets to report with those guys. Podcasts.
Yeah.
Okay, so MLW Radio had Ricardo on the show. I hear this is very, very interesting. I presume you haven't heard it yet.
I have not heard that one yet.
Okay, so that's an interesting one. Ordie Reynolds, who is a co.
Wait. You hadn't heard it either.
No,
So why did we bring it up?
because I like to let people know what
Oh,
podcasts
okay,
are out
okay,
this
okay,
week.
okay.
You know,
Yeah.
and we've got 2 weeks of podcasts to go through here.
That's true, yeah.
So that's supposed to be really good. It's a 2-parter that they have with. It's the full MLW ensemble with Ricardo. Now the
Can't miss Mr. St. Laurent.
But do you know what the thing is? I hear that the VIP shows that he does with Kevin Sullivan are incredible.
What are they?
They go through months in WCW, and Kevin Sullivan talks about the booking.
Oh, wow.
That sounds great.
Yeah, I might have to download some of
And the
those.
thing about Saint Laurent is he's such a fucking geek.
He really is. His voice just goes through my head.
But you can imagine on a one-on-one
Yeah,
situation, with
yeah,
wrestler,
he'd be good.
he'd be enough of a geek that he'd know
Yeah,
what
I'll
to
be
ask.
downloading those shows.
Nefarious. That's what we call you, Nefarious Ken and
Yeah.
Boss Hunter.
Yeah. When I proposed this show to Neil, I said we should have gimmick names. And now that you've called me Nefarious Ken, I'm liking that. I really am.
Okay.
Crooked Ken. There you go.
And then in parentheses, the Nefarious.
Nefarious Neil. Nefarious Neil.
There you go. All right. Ordie Reynolds is co-author of Death of WCW, which got its it's got its decade re-release a few weeks back.
Revised and expanded.
He did an interview with Vince Russo on Vince Russo's website, and this is supposed to be the most fascinating Vince Russo.
Apparently they roar at each other, yeah.
You see, the thing is, it's amazing because it was advertised as like the most fascinating Vince Russo interview ever, but it's actually Vince Russo interviewing somebody. It's just madness.
Oh, so it was on Russo's. Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay, yeah.
Russo
yeah.
had him on to kind of call him out on the book.
Yeah, and he says that the figure that WCW lost $62 million in its final year of existence, he challenges RD and where he got this from, and he said he read it in the Observer, which is where we get a lot of our stuff as well, and Russo says that he read Dave make a comment in Observer in 1999 about how he didn't like the "This Is Your Life" segment that Russo wrote with Rock and Foley, and as a result didn't want to watch pro wrestling anymore.
Yeah.
So after that day he decided he would never take anything Dave Meltzer said seriously again. Dave did not say any such thing. He said he didn't like that segment, but he did not say it made him never want to watch wrestling
I
again.
don't think the publisher of the most widely read Insider newsletter is going to state in an issue that he's no longer going to watch wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, he's not rocking my gimmick, you know what I mean?
Exactly. That one I'd go out of my way. Tonight, after the show, I'm going to listen to both of those. I think I've most of the rest covered here, though. The Observer, speaking of, had Jim Ross on talk about the New Japan deal. I think we pretty much covered that when we talked about the
Yeah,
New
we
Japan
did.
deal. It's a fine interview. It's short enough.
Mm-hmm.
And they had Matt Stryker on to talk about Lucha Underground. Stryker's being Matt Stryker, but I just kind of want to talk about Lucha Underground for a while. Have you seen any of it yet?
No,
It's
it doesn't interest me, to be honest.
it's
sounded
really
like it's a good
interesting.
show,
It's really
but-
interesting looking.
If it was like, maybe actually I could probably access it on one of my new crooked boxes. So maybe I will.
You've got new crooked
I
boxes.
got an, do you know what an Android box is?
No.
Right, it's a little box that you hook up to your TV and you download an app and you can basically access every. I put it this way: it's got every episode of Impact, it's got every episode of South Park, it's got every episode of, you name it, it's got it. It's got every film under the sun. It's kind of like Netflix, only you don't pay for it, and it's illegal.
So it's
The box itself isn't illegal because it's just an Android box. It's basically a little box that has the same technology in it as, say, a tablet. But
Sure.
you hook it up to your TV, but with a HDMI cable.
and you hook it up to the internet,
Yes,
and it just streams things
Yeah.
through the box.
yeah.
Where'd you get it?
I got it from China. I got it from China, but I can hook you up.
Did
with
you
it.
actually? I thought it was kind of like somebody DMing you on a
No,
social media
you
site.
you can get them from like Amazon, but they're like 120, 150 quid. I got it for I got it for €50 and I thought I was getting it for a steal, but then the government taxed me another 30. But I've already cancelled Netflix. I've already cancelled the network. I've cancelled all my Sky movies.
Is the network on it?
You can get the network on it, yeah. But I don't. The browser then you're using is the same as the one you'd use on a laptop, so you're dealing with the scroller bar, which is much easier to use on a PS3 or an Xbox, which I have already.
Kind of exciting talking about stuff like this on the air, isn't it?
It's very much so, yeah.
All right. Jericho had Dolph on the two-parter. You didn't like this half as much as I did.
Yeah, I just listened to a bit of it, and
Part one?
I think I got as far as the conversation about listening to the radio in the car and guessing which song was coming next.
You see, you didn't even tip the iceberg. They go really extensively into the caddy gimmick, Spirit Squad, how he got the name Dolph Ziggler. Basically, they went into the fact that he's had no hope. And they talked extensively about how he joined the wrestling team and was a record setter at Penn State, just so he could get into wrestling because he knew Jared Briscoe would scout him.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It's brilliant. The thing is, I like Dolph in the ring. There's people who I know who love Dolph, who love him a lot more than I do. One thing that I don't like about Dolph is I always feel on the mic, and by the way,
I don't think he's good on the mic at all.
Yeah, I'll take off. Like, I think the last 2 weeks he's been great on the mic on Raw, but usually I think he's very try hard. And we've talked about this. He always kind of tries to add his own little lines in. He tries to talk over people, or he tries to say something smart really quick. And I don't think he understands that the PA system in an arena that big is never going to be one that he can carry that kind of sharpness over and kind of convey to the crowd properly. But his demeanor and personality on this show, I'd highly recommend it. And it's very informative. And Jericho doesn't talk that much.
Well, that's a huge draw.
Yeah.
So give it a listen. People!
Austin is continuing his trend of having no guests because he's filming one of his shows.
Did you know, Neil? Actually, there's one scoop that came out of one of these shows.
Okay.
If Steve could go back and do it all over again, right, at WrestleMania 17 in the ring, he would have told Vince, watch the stunner, and he would have hit him with the stunner, and they would have explained on the back end that he just used Vince to get the championship, but he was not a heel.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're aware of that.
No,
this may be breaking news.
How many more times can he talk about this?
It's just awkward. It's just that's the problem with doing 2 shows a week when you're also, he's a busy schedule. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And trying to do 2 shows a week, I can see that this is all he can do. But there's only if you're somebody who has a phenomenal memory, then you could maybe plan out. Okay, I'll do an hour on this 3-month period in my career. You know what I mean? But he's terrible memory. People just ring him up to ask him the same questions about the same era.
He seems to have He seems to have no memory of 1998 besides his match against Taker and Shawn. The SummerSlam match and the WrestleMania match.
Yeah.
So, and they're most likely, because of the main event of SummerSlam and WrestleMania, the ones that he's watched since.
And he get a concussion at SummerSlam as well.
That's right. So he seems to have practically no memory of 1998. He seems to have practically no memory of 1999. And he seems to have no memory of 2001 from SummerSlam onwards to the end of
From WrestleMania on, really.
Yeah.
He was running pretty hard, taking a lot of energy drinks.
What do you think he was up
There's
to?
a lot of people, there's a theory going around on the board that he was coked off his face from sort of 2001 to 2003. And you could imagine it.
Oh, yeah.
But
because his body was so broken down by then,
Yeah, you could imagine it, but
and
I'm
at
not
that
sure.
stage, by 2001, you could imagine that, unlike in 97, 98, when he was starting to become a huge star, by 2001, after spending a year off and coming back hurt, you can imagine that was when he was like living the life because he'd have the bank account then.
Yeah, but at the same time, we've heard him talk about drug use before and say that he was a drinker largely. He took a pill here or there, but he never really wanted to go down that road. So for me, I just think, I don't know about you, Neil, right? But I'm 30 years of age, as you know, Neil. But I find that my memory is worse now than it was 5 years ago.
Okay.
And I think a part of that is just that the more you live, the more you have to remember because the more life
Absolutely.
is behind you.
I'm definitely the same.
And I just think, that was the back end of his career. He'd been wrestling for 11, 12 years at that point. And I just think he was in his late 30s. He was going through a couple of divorces in that time. All the neck surgeries. I just think it all just blurs together for him. How often do we hear wrestlers, shoot interviews, tell stories, and they have no clue of the timeline of things at all?
Absolutely.
Even Paul Heyman, who's a detail freak, got something majorly wrong in his ECW Exposed thing about Brian Pillman, and that surprised me. But it's your life. It's like,
yeah.
I have a pretty good memory and a good ability to timeline my life, and I always tell people it's because of like pro wrestling and football. I can remember this period in my life because I remember this was going on in wrestling. That was the date of that, and this is a week later. You know what I mean?
I think of WrestleMania almost as my New Year's, and I think of like blocks.
And WrestleMania, the wonderful thing for me is that WrestleMania is the same age as me. You know what I mean?
Well, there you go.
So every year, like I'm like, what? Actually, I thought I was 29 recently, and then I realized we'd had WrestleMania 30.
There you
So
go.
that was very disappointing.
And it's hard for us to kind of envisage that somebody who's lived a life like that can't remember, because we've seen it. We've seen it play out on television,
Yes.
you know. But of course, it is the case.
Do you know? Somebody asked him specifically about the Raw from July of 2001, where he was at the Friendly Tap, Timmy White's bar.
Oh yeah, with the real Stone Cold.
Can I tell you something? I watched that episode start to finish recently. Okay,
It's incredible.
and when I did it,
it's
I was
incredible.
I was cooking my dinner and my wife's dinner while I was at it, so I had my cordless headphones on, right, and they're key to this.
Oh,
So even when I wasn't watching, say there was a hurricane match on, I wasn't watching the TV, or I was still getting the commentary in. You know what I mean?
that's a really
And
lovely
Ross
idea.
was, I mean, I cannot tell you, and it's so shone a light in the current product. He was fucking hammering it. I mean, any of you who have the network, please. I'm down on my knees. Neil, verify this, please.
Okay, just try
I'm
not to
down
break-
on
try
my
not to break
knees,
myself.
okay? Begging you, go back on the network and watch this Raw. It's July, I think, 13th, 2001. The whole show is built around, you know, Vince going to the Friendly Tap and begging the old Stone Cold to come back because he needs him for the pay-per-view, the Invasion pay-per-view, and they build up to it. Of course, the close of the show is Steve coming back with his broken pool cue and kicking ass. And I mean, the fucking pop.
Oh, God.
Oh, gee. I watched it again tonight.
It's so
We're getting let's down tools here, Neil.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, you always have to watch it.
Did they only add that to the network recently? Because I couldn't.
They added it about 3 months ago, but I watched it start to finish, and I was like, dear God. I think we'll have to do it as a classic review at some point, maybe.
Oh man, can we please? It's
Yeah,
just
It's just the best television.
me and Sean used to always go back and watch it. We
Yeah.
used to always
It's
like
just- it's
in like
unbelievable.
2004, 5, 6.
And
Which was like, let's go
I
watch
was-
that.
When I watched it, I was there going, I'm so devastated because I don't want to go and watch The Invasion now, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to watch, you know, just they just should have.
How many stunners is it? Is it 8?
Oh my God, he stuns fucking everyone. It's probably 10, like. But
I remember Dreamer hobbling over, just be like, "Oh God, I've come over too early."
yeah, I better take one. But it's such a, you know, because I know that Dave Meltzer talks about how he knew in advance that the turn was coming at WrestleMania. He was begging people not to do it, and I mean they, you know, I know we're getting off topic here. We've got Raw to get through here, but they just burned through so much money by turning him heel. But they lost so many fans that never came back to the business, and
Yep.
it just wasn't the right time, you know. But anyway,
Okay,
Raw.
moving on. We've got a couple more poddies here.
Oh, Jesus.
I think there's 2 we haven't listened to, but just so that people know, Drew McIntyre's on Cole Cabana's podcast. That could be fairly interesting enough, especially with the promotion up in Scotland doing so well at the moment. What's the fucking name of it? With Grado in it? IPW?
ICW.
ICW. Piper. There's a Piper show here that I'm very tempted to listen to. He had
Oh, God.
he had Orton on.
Did he call him Bob Orton in the preview?
I presume he called him Ace, judging by Piper's ability to remember full
Randy
names.
Savage. Randy Savage, maybe.
What do you mean?
Randy Orton, Randy Savage.
Oh, okay, very
Bob
good.
Orton, anyway.
So okay, here's one. Jim Ross had JJ Dillon on. This was okay. JJ Dillon's just very nice.
Do you know
He's a
what?
real nice guy.
It's fascinating because I'm I can tell you now, I'm 57% through his book, as my Kindle tells me, which I was reading just before I came out here, and so
Okay.
I was really interested to hear this because JJ has a forensic memory. His I'm reading the period between 1990 and 1993 when he's booking, and it was him, Pat Patterson,
Say
and
that
Vince.
again. Between 1990 and 93,
When
he was
him and
head
Vince-
head of town relations.
No, him and Vince and Pat are basically doing the booking.
I didn't know he was booking in WWF.
Yeah, and
I thought he was just head of town relations.
no, he did kind of he had a lot of hats.
He was booking in 92.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Specifically, when Pat went away because of the sex allegations,
In 92.
he and Vince did WrestleMania 8 and everything, and so he talks about it, and it's just fascinating because it's a Monday to Friday 9 to 9 kind of job because they would have lunch. He spoke about the deli they would get lunch from. They would eat, they would work, and then Linda would make dinner, and Vince apparently has very specific taste, and she's a good cook, but the food would not necessarily be to JJ's tastes. And the point was that he would go home and he wouldn't leave the house on the weekend because Vince would probably ring. And like he'd say, he'd go to the supermarket just to get some Coke. You know what I mean? He'd come back and Vince would be like, "Where were you, pal? I'm right." You know what I mean? And Pat, but he says that Pat Patterson would like sometimes ring Vince on a Saturday afternoon and say, "Vince, what are you doing?" And Vince would be like, "Nothing." And Pat would be like, "All right." And Vince would be like, "Do you want to come over?" And Pat would be like, "Yeah." And then JJ would have to go, you know, because Vince and Pat had nothing else in their lives. You know, Pat famously, you know, what do you have? He had a partner, but he'd no family, no friend. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So Pat would ring Vince up on Saturdays and just they'd hang out, and it would inevitably become a booking meeting.
Yes, and the thing is, apparently from time to time, JJ wouldn't be involved, and then JJ would get paranoid that he was getting frozen out. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's so good.
So, but he just talks about how for like there's a 6-year period of his life that he had a baby in 1993 with cerebral palsy. Actually, the thing that that I'm not cerebral, yeah, and that you know, it was very challenging, took up a lot of his time, and that caused a lot of friction with Vince. It's a fascinating book, but because of that, I was very excited to hear the interview. But the one thing that really hurt this interview for me was the talk of the current product. You know, it's like I don't need to hear JJ Dillon's talk of the current product.
And he clearly doesn't really watch much.
No, and I'm not going to hear him for another 2 years. So can I not just hear Horseman stories and that kind of thing? You know.
Okay, Alex Greenfield. Finally, you like this interview?
Man, I don't have vivid specific notes. I mean, he buries Kevin Dunn he just says that Kevin Dunn was very clearly not a fan of Jim Ross and was kind of sniping him off behind his back. He talks about how he wanted to have somebody else direct and produce Raw instead of or SmackDown instead of Kevin Dunn, with the idea it would give SmackDown a different look and feel to Raw.
That's right. Didn't Heyman also want that?
Yes, he did as well. Yeah. So he talks about that kind of thing.
The unfortunate thing about that is,
he talks about the perhaps the most interesting part of it is he talks about his clashes with Vince, and that he was very he was kind of like Heyman in that he would argue even the smallest points, and just that him and Vince would scream at each other. And at the end of the day, a lot of times Vince would come back to you with the same idea, but he'd believe it was his own, which is actually, funny enough, is something JJ Dillon talks about a lot, is how, you know, he and Pat would throw out ideas for 4 hours, and the next day Vince would come out and would present their ideas to them as though they were his own, which is just fascinating, I think.
Yeah.
Hunter even talked about that on Jericho's podcast.
No, it's true, yeah. Another thing I find really interesting about Vince is it's always been said that he's
a madman.
He's a chameleon in terms of who he hangs around with. So, like, let's say he's hanging around with like some very like jockey lads by the ring. He'll be like he'll be like playing along with them, and then if he's with the riders, he'll be very kind of calculated, and he'll like try and fit in with them. He's an incredible brain, you know.
Well, I mean, one thing he said was Vince would say to talent, if you had a magic wand, what would you do to get an idea what was in their head? And that was where a lot of ideas kind of came from.
That's pretty cool. He doesn't ask that anymore, though, does he?
No, I don't think so.
No, he doesn't. Shall we move on to Raw? This show took place in Liverpool. We had John Cena coming out. The crowd were very not into him. They were chanting Cena sucks and whatnot. And they also started chanting where's our network, but it was edited out of the show.
Indeed.
But Cena supposedly tried to use it and say, oh, the authority are keeping the network from you.
Do you know what's interesting?
Would you have kept that in? I don't think so.
No.
Okay.
This is what I think the Echo Arena holds 12,000 people. I don't know if this is a sellout or not. I always find it interesting to do back-to-back TV tapes in the same arena. But anyway, I would bet you, if everyone in that arena was chanting, where's our network, there will not even be that many people in that country who actually subscribe to the network when it's available in the UK.
Ah, yeah, they were just doing it to do it. Yeah. He referenced Zack Ryder's injury because blaming it on the authority, saying that this is why he needs to win. He said he's found 2 men to fight by his side. Who's the one who's not Dolph Ziggler? Oh, Jack Swagger, of course. This was amazing. So then he brought out Ryback, who was set to have a match with him later tonight. Before Ryback said anything, the authority came out, and they just talked a lot of nonsense for a while, pretty much. I can't remember what Hunter was even saying. Do you remember what Hunter was saying?
Sorry? No, I don't. It was just they went back and forth, and basically...
The one thing was Cena did say that, they started talking about, you know, people who had stood up to them, and then Cena threw in a line that looked very ad-lib because it was kind of like very quick, and he said it almost nervously about Bryan, and then Triple H came back with saying Bryan bet Triple H at WrestleMania basically, and Cena called them wankers, They both did a pitch for Ryback to join the team. Ryback basically did a bait and switch and gave Cena a spine buster,
Yeah.
joining the Authority, but what would only be for a few hours. Okay, so we had Seth Rollins and Jack Swagger, which we had just a couple of weeks ago. Do you remember this?
Yeah, it wasn't quite as bad as that, but
Yeah, Rollins went straight with a curb stomp and then did another one afterwards, and basically this was to write Jack Swagger out of the Cena team. So Cena was down to Cena and Dolph. They were running a show parallel to Raw.
SmackDown show, were they? Well, not a SmackDown
yeah.
show. Yeah.
So they're running a show. So basically, they didn't have a full complement of bodies. So this kind of felt like an old school Raw in the sense that there was one continuous story throughout the show, which I liked. But unfortunately, it wasn't over 2 hours; it was over 3. So it could never be enjoyable.
Yeah, I
But you know the feel, Ken, of like the late 90s Raws that like they had a starting story and you'd see
like
the guys
one
like
with
5
Steve,
times.
Steve and Brett and Pillman and the ambulance and all that stuff. Yeah.
Exactly.
I just felt, but it felt to me like they burnt through about an 8-week angle in 3 hours.
We had a video about Ambrose and Wyatt, and then we had Dean Ambrose cutting a promo. That was fine. He wasn't there, obviously, so they had recorded this last week. The first of the many.
Ambrose has become gobbledygook since he's been paired with Wyatt. I really feel it's taking the edge off him.
They haven't done anything with him.
Exactly. That's I remember you said when we had a conversation before the podcast about how you didn't have a problem with the finish of that main event at Hell in a Cell. He's just a mid-card geek now.
Yeah, well, it's not that I didn't have a problem with the finish, it's that I had known that he was always going to be pushed back down.
It's justified.
No, I'm not justifying it. I'm saying, though, as bad as it was, at least that finish was not just him being beaten clean in the middle by Seth.
I'm so not high on Seth Rollins.
Really? Talk to me about that.
Okay, here's the thing about Seth Rollins.
Do you not like the way he's a really cheesy 80s heel in his
I
promos
don't
sometimes?
see that in him at all.
How do you not see it?
When I look
His
at Seth
laugh.
Rollins, I see very good ring work, poor to average mic work,
That's so unfair.
poor to average gear.
That's subjective.
I don't think his body is particularly impressive. I think
CrossFit?
the skunk look was worked on the indies, but I don't think it's a good look for the main roster.
What would you do with his hair?
Send it back down to developmental. No, honestly, I just don't think there's anything about him. There's nothing about him that's top level other than his work.
I like
And
his push. I can accept him very much
I
as
just
that
think
type.
he's your top heel. It's just
Is
very
he your top
underwhelmed
heel?
by him. Yeah, he's the top heel.
I suppose the top heel. I like. Do you know what I like?
But
When
like,
everybody's
when
feuding with him. I like.
Do you ever see him main eventing WrestleMania as a heel?
Yeah,
Really?
I could.
Jesus, I just I don't even think he's. I think you could put Cesaro in the same spot with the same push and he'd be much more effective.
But he wouldn't, because he could, like, whatever you want to say about Seth's talking abilities, Cesaro is nowhere near him. Whether you want to say they're both
disagree with
okay or they're both bad.
If you're telling me that that Cesaro is worse at reading written lines, maybe you're right. But I think
I'd say
Cesaro's
general promo.
more
is
natural
worse.
charisma.
No, Kenny.
Think of the Symposium.
I love. I love Cesaro, but I
Think of
don't.
the Symposium, which
I
you
don't-
yourself ranted about.
No. Yeah, but that was more like that was more him having a laugh with his mate.
Rollins has no charisma. He's just a man saying words.
I really don't agree.
Fair enough.
So
We're not enemies. We just disagree.
Exactly. We the first of many backstage segments with Ryback, a member of the Authority, came up giving him orders, telling him that he'd be at ringside tonight to help him, and Ryback said that maybe Kane should follow his lead and he didn't need any help out there. Paige came out to a huge ovation, being the home country girl. She bet Alicia Fox rather quickly with the Rampage. Backstage we had Lan and Rusev. These are very weird sketches with Stephanie.
I thought these were very, very funny because we had a conversation last week and I had not last week, 2 weeks ago, my big rant about how this company functions more to massage Vince McMahon's ego than to make money. And here we are 2 weeks later and the acorn never falling far from the tree. They spent 9 months building up Lana and Rusev as these unstoppable heels, and Stephanie just neutered the pair of them in 2 separate segments. I thought, just how far is this woman's head up her own ass? I thought it was hysterical.
I don't think it was Stephanie.
I thought well, it may have been the writers, but Stephanie didn't have the foresight to say they're more important than me.
I'd say you're probably close to the idea of Vince vicariously through Stephanie.
Well, there you go. Either way, I just thought it showed such a lack of understanding of how to make a star. It's just like it's like it'd be like Bill Watts doing this to somebody in the UWF in 1987. It just wouldn't have happened. You know what I mean? The biggest star in this company should be the wrestlers, not the authority figure. He's going to do one over choreographed match every 7 or 8 years. And anyway, I thought it was very, very funny. I thought it was for anybody who is disenchanted with the current product. This was a nice little snapshot of what is wrong with it.
It was very nonsensical in the sense that Rusev isn't turning babyface anytime soon. So yeah, it was completer. It was just burying them in a weird way. She called Lana a stuck-up little twit and told her that
Lana stood there and just said, "Okay, that's fine."
Yeah. Well, maybe they didn't want Lana to respond because it would have played off as being a babyface. Either way, Stephanie didn't have to say.
Could not have asked her to say that.
So we had her basically say that she wanted her answer about Rusev joining Team Authority after the match. Okay, so Triple H and Stephanie had arranged a championship celebration in Rusev's honor. They'd a couple of the local indie wrestlers, one putting on a Russian accent in the ring, doing a little speech for
One
him.
of these dudes was the guy that AJ Styles broke his neck.
The guy who didn't talk.
Yeah.
So they had a rematch. Then Rusev had his music play and Sheamus legged it down, being a really sore loser from last week on Raw. Oh, speaking of last week on Raw, one thing...
Sheamus is terrible.
There's one thing I want to ask about last week on Raw, because we didn't get to do a show. You must have really enjoyed that last segment with Randy and stuff.
With the blood and stuff?
Well, yeah, but just the segment in general, it was a masterpiece, no?
It was similar to this, and I felt like they burnt through 8 weeks of storyline in one night. And nothing resonates with me then, but...
I thought it was incredibly done.
It was good, yeah.
I thought it was really good. And even to the point of Kane falling over Randy's legs. I thought
that was 5 fucking stars.
Have you seen these Randy Orton vines, obviously? Have you seen the one of
where they added
Kane
in?
tripping over, but yet a second Randy?
No, I haven't.
It's very good. So anyway, they had a rematch. This was not a good match. Mercury Noble ran down to cause distraction, which helped Sheamus get counted out, which obviously plays into the idea that they're bartering for Rusev to join the team. So backstage we had Seth Rollins, and he came in and he said to Ryback, "My God, Ryback, you look huge," which I really enjoyed. He was acting very sleazy and said that they should focus together on beating Team Cena. And Ryback basically said that he has his own way of doing things, and that his name isn't Big Man, it's the Big Guy. Then we had Miz and Mizdow and Hornswoggle against the Matadors and El Torito.
Jump the shark now.
Yeah, that's really what I felt like. I was like, as soon as I saw Hornswoggle, I was like, poor Sandow. I thought they had something. But look, this probably isn't going to continue.
I think so.
What do you think?
Normally when you see Hornswoggle out there, he's stuck with people for a while.
Well, the last time they stuck Hornswoggle in the Slater Gator thing, and that only lasted 2 weeks because everybody turned on it really quick.
Yeah,
they just keep going back to it. They just keep thinking, geez, what can we do in Hornswoggle?
Well, that's the thing. They want him there, you know what I mean? There's a novelty to him, but yeah, I don't know.
Miz got the win, anyway, with help from Hornswoggle. Backstage...
Did you see Hornswoggle in Muppets?
In the Muppets?
Yeah. He's good.
He didn't do anything. He danced.
Yeah, he was alright.
He was alright.
Look, he was no worse than Seth fucking Rollins with his shit promos.
Oh, come off. Did you enjoy the second Muppets film?
I think Seth Rollins would have been not out of place at all.
Get this back on track here.
Midget in the Muppets. Yes, I did enjoy the second Muppets.
Did you prefer the first
My
one?
wife is a huge Muppet aficionado, hence marrying me.
Did you?
But I did enjoy both of those films. These are the kind of things. These would not be in my wheelhouse were I not married to this woman. But she brought these kind of things as well as like the likes of Puss in Boots or Kung Fu Panda, all these kind of Disney fun kind of films into my life. And actually, they're
I'd be worried about those now. I went to see the Muppets of my own accord. The first one I really enjoyed.
Yeah,
I think the first one was actually like incredible. 5 stars.
Incredible. 5 stars.
Yeah, absolutely.
I enjoyed both, but
see, I've seen all the Muppets films. When I was a kid, I was raised on the Muppets.
I probably thought that explains so much.
Really?
I thought Ricky Gervais is very good.
He was. That's no doubt about it. Dolph was worried backstage. Cena came in and was very, very sad and said, "You know what, Dolph? I wouldn't blame you if you'd left the team." John Cena's such a ham.
He's great.
Fuck off.
He's brilliant.
So I just can't wait. Look, I'm not going to
Only person in this company sells merch or tickets, Neil.
That's because it's the only one positioned to sell merch or tickets, Ken. Then Triple H came
There's
in.
a B show, like the one that Ambrose is headlining, playing before fucking flies every night, Neil.
And whose fault is that?
Ambrose.
Okay. you're definitely contradicting yourself.
I am, absolutely, yeah.
Then we had the highlight of Raw, which was Hunter coming in and being all sleazy and saying that...
Hunter wearing a suit jacket that I bought in Jack and Jones a decade ago, by the way.
Basically saying that Cena was banned from the Henry Ziggler match, which was forthcoming, and then he sang Another One Bites the Dust, and that was my favourite moment of Raw.
Good stuff.
It's pretty good. Then Dolph came out, and before the match was to start, the weird eye promo for Luke Harper aired again. So this was something they played out before the end of the night. Dolph Ziggler bet Mark Henry in a disgustingly sloppy match. It was Ken. Did you see this match?
I mean, I saw it. I don't have any memories of
Okay,
it.
I'm going to be completely honest. I was like watching Godzilla trailers for like movies from the 70s when this was on, because I was like, I need to do something to make me feel good because it's 2:30 in the morning. So as I was...
You didn't watch this live?
I watch Raw live every week.
Oh, good God, Neil.
Ken, it's the only time I have to fit Raw in.
Oh, my God. Neil, I feel so bad for you.
I know.
Oh, Jesus, you poor
Now,
thing.
I always have something else happening at the same time. Like, do you know what I do?
Would you not even pause it and start like an hour in so you just miss all the commercials?
I sometimes do. A lot of the time, like, I'd be editing the
The
football podcast,
show, yeah.
stuff like that. But anyway,
Jesus, I didn't know
so
that.
when Claire was watching this the next night, catching up on Raw, she just had my show and she goes, "What is happening here?" And I looked over and it was the match, and I realized, oh, I do a wrestling podcast and I have no memory of this match. So I started watching it with her, and I was like, Jesus, this match was a mess.
Can I just ask you something, Neil? You've brought something to light here.
Yeah.
Does this mean that you watched Rusev and Sheamus at about 4:40 in the morning?
Ken,
Yeah.
I am much like Tommy Dreamer, as in I am a hardcore, but I'm not that hardcore.
Okay.
I watched that the next day in work.
Okay, good.
Because I was like, I should have half an hour to spare. Anyway, the finish saw, I think Henry got DQ'd, and then he just kept beating up Ziggler, and then Big Show ran out, made the save, and announced that he was going to be on Team Cena. They did another New Day is Coming video. We didn't talk about this last week, but after us teasing we were going to review Super Brawl with James Brown, they've given
The James Brown gimmick to
the
three black
consequences,
fellows.
the Consequences Creed. What's his name?
Consequences 3, that's it, yeah. Xavier Woods.
To Xavier Woods, and now Kofi Kingston. Obviously, this is all going to be the thing that we thought they were doing a long time ago. Big E and Kofi and Xavier. Then Kofi, obviously this was stuff, but Kofi was fine on the mic, wasn't he? He was like saying stuff and being slightly charismatic.
Yeah.
Don't know about a faction that sky blue is their color though.
I just don't know about this altogether. But anyway, I'm willing to give it a go.
What were they?
They do need to do something with these three men very badly.
Sure, absolutely. So there you go. Backstage, they had this was fucking hilarious, right? So we had Cena and Show and Ziggler backstage, and they were going, "Oh God, oh jeez, we need two more. Where are we going to get two more from?" They were emphasizing we need two more, and then Sheamus comes and goes, "You only need one more. I'll join the team." And they're like, "Hey!" And then immediately they go, "Okay, so we need one more." So Sheamus might think of himself as two men, but they certainly didn't. I fucking thought this was hilarious. We had AJ defeating Brie Bella. She won after Nikki hit AJ, or did she win clean?
She won clean.
She won clean, and then
AJ laid them both. Not AJ, Nikki laid them both out.
There you go. That's it,
Moving
really.
swiftly along.
Then we had Mark Henry come in to Ryback's dressing room and
Remind him that he beat him at WrestleMania.
WrestleMania 29. I love the way they bring the stuff up now. You know,
They very rarely do, but yeah.
I love
it's
when
good
they do. And obviously, this was the beginning of the end for Ryback and his affiliation with the Authority.
Oh,
Tyson Kidd against Adam Rose. This was basically
this was the highlight of the show.
This was a piece of shit.
This was my favorite bit of Raw.
Okay, why was it your favorite bit of Raw?
Because as I said to you earlier on when we were speaking, I tried to watch Raw this week in a vacuum, so that I could see if there was anything that I just found entertaining. That because I know that when I watch the show, and I'm trying to think logically about the previous week's show and where it could be going for next week. I hate fuck it with my brain. So I decided to try and just watch it and just like try and see. It's kind of like it when Booker T used to be on commentary, and I knew he was awful, but did he entertain me was what I looked for. You know what I mean? And I mean, Tyson
I could never do it.
Tyson Kidd and then Adam Rose was the in-ring equivalent of shucky ducky quack quack right here. So
Adam Rose, this is 2 good matches I saw him having a week. He's
There you
picking
go.
it up. But yeah, basically they done a thing on SmackDown where the bunny was had cost him the match, and then the bunny blatantly
you just call him fuck, please.
then fuck blatantly cost him this match.
Yes. He's
Where's
going
the
to interfere for
sympathy?
no reason. I
Where's
don't
the
understand.
sympathy?
Adam Rose does actually look like he'd better suited as a heel, I have to say.
Yeah, the eyeliner helps and the beard.
Yeah.
You
Go
know.
for the Neill Marshall circa 2005 look, I think.
There you go. Yeah. Okay,
All
so
he needs is a pair of New Rocks, brother.
that's it, brother, and a suit.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, the suit. The fucking suit.
The way you're saying is if I only had one, I had several suits.
I want to come over here one day and you two are sitting here in your fucking suit.
Will I dress in gimmick one day? Old gimmick.
Please.
We'll use it as our thumbnail for the YouTube
Yeah.
video. All right. So Kid got the victory after the bunny fucked up, and then Rose kicked him in the guts.
Yeah. Yeah, it was such a weird spot. It was like when Vince kicked Brett in the guts in that angle in 2010.
in the
That was
nads.
No, it was not. It was the guts.
Yeah,
And he sold his stomach. I'm telling you, go back and watch it.
It's like
It was a boot, a straight
kick
boot
him
to
in
the
the
guts.
All right. Backstage, the Authority were having a meeting.
Overwhelming that was.
They were all talking shite about Ryback, and then he walked in, and
Oh,
then
God.
Stephanie sounded identical to her father and said, "Had it together."
She's gonna, when she gets to like 47, 48, she's gonna cut her hair short like her mom did, and she's gonna look just like Vince. And the internet wrestling community is gonna be fucking cock in hand watching Raw every week.
Speaking of cock in hand, I was going to say I find Stephanie terribly attractive. Yeah.
The more and more she looks like Vince ever seen.
Way more now than I did when I was like a super horny teenager in 2003, which is really upsetting because
It's kind of strange,
presumably
yeah.
she looked better back then, you know?
No, I do think she looks more together sometimes. Her wardrobe choices in
Oh,
like
yeah.
2000, 2003.
Well, come on,
It's
there's some
very
stuff.
strange.
2 weeks ago on Raw, she wore that the pink and black moo colored.
Yeah.
Fucking bad shit going on there, but just her outfit at SummerSlam, my god.
Oh yeah, so
My god. We had an ad for Jericho. Bray Wyatt cut a promo on Dean Ambrose from backstage. I understood what he said, Ken. He kind of was more clear. He wasn't talking in gibberish, really.
What did he say? I want to pay homage to Waylon Mercy and thank him for my entire career.
Yeah, pretty. As good as. He
Okay.
said, I really like Dan Spivey.
Dangerous, Danny Spivey.
So, by the way, also in the Adam
And his
Rose match,
flat top mullet.
even though you're saying it was your favourite segment of the show, you neglected to talk about Luke Harper's descent into comedy oblivion.
Luke Harper. Oh,
Sorry,
yeah.
Gary Carone.
Yes, Luke Harper of the Harper family. Yeah.
Bollocks.
Yes. What did he came out and said she's not here?
So,
Presumably
Renee's
referring
in
to Renee
storyline.
Young.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, he should have known she was going to be on the other show because Ambrose was there.
Ah, that's nice of them, isn't it? Yeah. Usually they take joy
I'm sure she
in
actually
splitting
wasn't
people
Raw,
up.
but in story.
They cut back to Joey Styles and Paul Heyman. Basically,
By the way, Joey Styles has not aged in 2 decades.
it's
incredible.
here's the thing, right? He has, but he's recently lost a tiny bit of weight, and now he looks. Even though his hair's gone back a bit, now he literally does look identical.
It's unbelievable.
There was a good portion, like over the last few years, where he did look older, but
Do you
now
know
he looks the same.
The weird thing was, did you watch the ECW Exposed thing?
No,
Okay.
I'm gonna watch it.
They
soon.
did an intro that was shot to look like it was the shaky camera in Ron Buffone's basement, right? But I went out of the room, I came back in, and I thought it was a clip from 1994. And then I realised, because they stopped shaking the camera and pulled, and Paul Heyman was there, and I was like, Sloop eggs!
20 years, Ken.
Let's take it home.
Oh, we're getting there.
That was me in the the referees here. No, the referees are the boys. Let's take it home. That's what he says, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, time to go home, boys.
Down I go. Another thing on that. Did you see the Botchamania where? Do you watch Botchamania?
I watched like Botchamania at 2:30 the other day, but I'm
See-
so far behind, and
Oh.
they're really subjective with it. They put a lot of stuff in that's not really that shouldn't be in there. You Just put people fucking up moves, like Matt Hardy falling over that rope one time.
Oh, with Justin Gabriel.
Yeah,
I
or-
thought about that, Ken. I was in bed a few weeks ago and we were going to sleep and I thought about it and out loud I started crying and Claire was like, what? And I was like, do you remember that thing with Matt Hardy? And I started screaming, how did they leave it in? How did they leave it in? That is
yes.
But Dolph Ziggler referenced in his interview with Jericho, there was a couple of months ago he had a match with Barrett on Raw. Do you remember they had a really good match and the crowd was going apeshit?
Kind of, yeah.
On you know the segment of Botchamania, everybody talks too much.
Yeah.
They had a close up to Ziggler, and Ziggler looks at Barrett and goes, "We're getting hot here, brother." And Dolph goes. He didn't reference Botchamania, but he goes, "I went home and I thought this was such an amazing match, and I watched it back, and there I am telling Wade that we've the crowd in the palm of our hand." And I was just like, "I'm an idiot." We're getting hot, like this is just one of those times where Vince was like, "God damn it, this." I like this kid, and then he's just like, "What did he say?"
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
A mark for himself. John Cena defeated Ryback via DQ, and Kane jumped in for just because he had enough.
No, it's like it's a Raw main event. I really should be in the ring at some point. He was probably just as bored. Yeah.
This is outrageous.
It's amazing, by the way. Ryback has been back for 2 weeks, and he's the most over babyface in the territory.
He's pretty over.
They're
Isn't
going wild for the Feed Me More chants, Neil.
he? Yeah.
Those Feed Me More chants were worth more money in 2012 than CM Punk's infamous pipe bomb promo was in 2011. Don't forget that. He drew that fucking buy rate, that Hell in a Cell.
No, he didn't.
Yes, who did? CM Punk, who wasn't drawing all year long.
I'll tell you, he did. And none of the experts has never mentioned
You
the
say
Observer.
Cena.
No. Why could Cena draw it?
Because he was doing all the promos for Ryback, because Ryback couldn't do them. Who then?
Jim Ross.
Oh, because he was on commentary, was he?
Yes, that's why.
Because Lawler has...
And
no.
nobody's ever made it. Yes.
Lawler had a
Yes.
heart attack, did he?
It was the weeks.
It's still...
Yeah.
I'm not... You can't discredit
Jim Ross.
Ryback.
Jim Ross.
You cannot discredit the Ryback.
I am.
You discredited the big guy.
The big man or the big guy. Yeah. Okay. So how did he turn here? I'm having a terrible time to recall.
This was just...
See, we can't be doing shows on Thursdays.
Okay, listen, let me cut a promo here, okay?
No, hold on. I need to finish this. Let me finish it. Ryback. What happened? How did he? Tell me, Ken.
Seriously, just there was.
Here we go. Ryback was upset that Kane cost him the match.
And so he turned on his brothers.
Okay, and
It was the same as the previous week. They were trying to calm him down, and he was going apeshit and stuff.
yeah. So basically, Ryback did a double turn in one show, which is very dangerous. With
That's
the
what
supposed
it really
getting
bothered me
hot.
because the second he spinebusters Cena, to me, just the way I look at wrestling, that's a heel turn. You can't do that and then come back and be a babyface by the end of the night. It's just silliness.
Actually, the crowd hated Cena anyway.
They're gonna protect him as some sort of a tweener, which, judging by the SmackDown spoilers, they actually may do, and I'm fine with that because I don't think, as a white meat babyface, he really kind of fits in. So,
Would you rather have him as a semi-main event heel or babyface?
babyface / tweener.
The end of the show was the Authority looking on backstage, and Dolph got thrown in front of them on the couch, and then Luke Harper was there. So there you go. I thought that they turned Ryback and they were going to have Randy come back on the night, and there would have been your 5 against 4.
There you go, yeah.
But no, Luke Harper finally has the thing to do. So Team Cena is Cena, Ryback,
Felt
Big Show,
very
Sheamus, Dolph.
slapped together with Harper. I don't feel like they were planning on this. I think those vignettes were going to run for a month or two.
I agree. And Team... Well, look, nothing. They don't know what they're doing with any of those
No.
guys. And then Team Authority is Seth, Kane, Rusev, Mark Henry, and Luke Harper. So we have 1 week to go. We'll be reviewing the Go Home Raw next week.
There's something that I
And,
wanted to talk about and I completely forgot about, and it'll only take me 2 minutes.
Sure, just before we do, though, just on that note, because we'll be doing the Go Home Raw next week. So what are just tell us all now, what are the Raws leading up to 94 Survivor Series that we're
It's
to
the
watch?
3 weeks before, so it's November 7th, 14th, and 21st of 1994.
That's very easy to remember.
And then the Survivor Series was actually on the Wednesday, 2 days after that final
So
Raw.
7, 14,
And
21.
I
That's
believe this is the
perfect.
dates. Yeah, I have them because I've been emailing my notes. What I wanted to mention was Jim Ross's podcast. You know, he has this half-hour soliloquy at the beginning.
Sure.
He's been floating this idea that he thinks they could get CM Punk back for one more match. Do you know what this match is?
No.
He thinks they could get him back for a match with Brock Lesnar in the main event of WrestleMania, okay?
Right.
He's been selling this idea to both of his guests, in particular JJ Dillon. He went on for like half an hour
I
about it.
do remember this, Ken.
And
yeah.
he's talking about how you could sell it because, you know, Heyman would be the heel and Punk used to be a Heyman guy and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just sitting there going, He hasn't referenced it once, so I'm presuming that he
Yeah.
was so drunk at SummerSlam in 2013, he doesn't remember they already did the match and it didn't draw. He's still harping on it, like, and Punk is not doing that match. He's not coming back for that match.
No.
And it wouldn't make any sense to have a main event with two guys who are gone. And his thing was Punk will come back for that match. You put the strap on Punk, and Punk then feuds with Bryan for the summer. He's like, they'll have great matches, and they'll be delighted to headline stuff. Clearly forgetting they also have done a program.
2012.
I think he was just shit faced all summer that year.
It's incredible because obviously, like, he was still working with the company at the time.
That was the SummerSlam that he was pissed
Yeah,
at.
exactly. So he would have known that was what was the main event? That and Bryan and Cena.
Yeah.
He's out of his mind.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but I've noticed that too, that he hasn't referenced it.
Yeah, because this is the third or fourth week where he's been banging on about this match, and I just felt the need. I'm just sitting there listening to it, going, Jim, like, because he keeps selling me on what the story would be and how you sell it. I'm just like, they did all of this stuff, and it didn't work 18 months ago. You know what I mean?
Absolutely outrageous. Okay, so go and listen to the Alex Greenfield interview on podcast1.com on Jay Orr's page. Listen to the Ordy Reynolds interview on pyroandballyhoo.com, which is Vince Russo's website.
Do not pay that man any money.
Well, I don't think they would. If you want to get any archives of our MMA or wrestling show, you can go to thisaintfake.com, and we'll be on Dublin City FM 103.2 FM at 4 o'clock this coming Sunday as well to talk all the latest in mixed martial arts. Until next weekend, watch Raw November 7th, 14th and 21st from 1994, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Thanks very much, Ken. We'll talk to you on Sunday.
Ciao.
Ciao.